The first thing that you need to do your value practical is mix your values. So you can see that I have my values already mixed. I have my tints over on the left side. I have my pure hue in position number 5 right in the middle, and these are my dark values. And I have used 3 grays, and I have 2 shades of the magenta or red, and I have 3 tints of the magenta. It's up to you what combination you would like to do. I don't really enjoy working with the shades, so I prefer the gray shades. I do, however, like the red tint, so I've made a few more of those. And the first thing that you want to do after you have it mixed is you want to put little swatches down so you could see if it graduates well. It can be very hard to tell if color graduates in value against gray, especially if you're new at doing it. So you want to kind of back up from your colors and squint so that you get a better sense of the value. Once you're sure you have your values right, you want a working scale over on the side. The reason that you want this is so that while you're working, and you may plan your practical in advance or not, even if you're planning your practical, you may need to make a change. And so now I have all of my values here, and I can visually go back and forth from my scale to my shapes to get a sense of what value will work where. Now, I have my darkest reds here. You can see this is my gray right here. I have already used my third value or tint of magenta in 3 places, and I've placed my pure hue up in here. I'm not a big fan of pure magenta, so I use a little less of it. You must use each value and hue at least once. And I'm going to try to work around my magenta, and if I need to use it somewhere else, I will. I have my lightest value placed in this triangle up here, directionally going up. I have one directionally going from left to right, so that I'm beginning to build a sense of eye movement around the composition. Now, the value that I haven't used is my 4th magenta, which it tends to be really strong, so I've really wanted to think about where I'm going to use it before I lay it in there, and I'm not really sure what I want to do with it. I'm going to keep thinking about it, and in the meantime, I am going to place my second value, this rather light pink, in this triangle, and I'm going to unify these 2 triangles. They're similar in value, they're not the same, but I'm going to keep them both light. Another trick to unification is to use similar values of the same hue or of gray right next to each other, and that really helps to create a sense of 3 dimensions by mimicking planes of a form. So I'm going to get that built in. I like to use the round brushes for the curves, and I prefer my flat brushes for my straight lines. This is something you want to practice and get used to. Each brush has its own function and use, and you may need to use more than one brush in one shape. And you don't want to paint with the tiny brush all the time. You'll get a lot more brush strokes that way. And so that's a reason to learn how to use larger brushes so that you get an even surface. There we go. Okay, so I've got that filled in, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I'll go back and clean that up just a little bit. You can see at the top that I have gone outside of the format. You're going to be cutting this and remounting it. I don't want you to really be stuck by having to paint within the entire format. It just is much more efficient to do it this way, to be able to paint outside of the format and then adjust it. So I'm okay with that placement. I'm going to go ahead with that 4th value. No, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go ahead with my gray, and this is value number 6. And place that, I think, somewhere small. Oh, I don't have a lot of this, so I'm going to have to skip it for now. I'm going to need to remix some more of my gray. So I'm going to move on to I have another pot of it. Great. That's similar. So it's not the same, it's similar. I'm going to show you how to fix this. So I'm going to add just a drop of black to that. See if I can't match that so that I can go ahead and finish what I was doing. A little more. You're going to be mixing for your practicals observationally. So when you have finished the course, you will have learned how to mix both by formula and observationally. Great. This works. One more drop. I'm going to put it next to my other pot. Perfect. Got it. So now I've replaced my paint. And I'm going to go ahead and place that in right here. And you can see that what I have around it is a dark red. Now, you can use the magenta, the cyan, which is the blue, or the yellow. It's entirely up to you. There is an example of the practical in progress for the cyan on the handout. And there's also an example of a finished version in the yellow. Yellow can be very challenging, but very rewarding. It's a bit more translucent than the other hues, so you can have a little more trouble with the coverage of the pure hue. However, and you may or may not like this, when you add black to yellow, you get an olive green. And some people don't like the olive green. I happen to really like it, but it's going to give you a little more variety in your practical. So it's entirely up to you which you would like to use. You have a preference, a personal preference, that's fine. Okay, so I've got that laid in there. I want to clean it up a little bit along the edge with my round brush. And think about what I want to do next. Fix the point of that a bit. I'm going to stop there. I hope that this gives you an idea of how to go about your practicals. Have some fun with it. You get to choose any hue that you like, any of the 3 hues, and I look forward to seeing your results.